Set in Mauritius, Africa. The story begins by showing a pair of lovers, Jackson and Sarah. They are discussing Sarah's departure, who has to return to London for her job. Meanwhile, Jackson, who lives here, can't follow because he loves Mauritius too much. So Sarah, who dislikes farewell moments, chooses to leave without saying goodbye. A year later, Sarah, now busy with her job, is contacted by her friend named Pascal. Pascal is a woman who invites Sarah to attend a wedding ceremony to be held in Mauritius. This becomes a golden opportunity for Sarah to meet her boyfriend, Jackson, again. Arriving in Mauritius, Sarah is seen driving Pascal's car to visit her friend. Her friend, who is a seller of liquor or rum, where Sarah buys a crate to drink with Pascal at her wedding party later. When Sarah is chatting with Pascal at the cafe, Jackson appears, who has now become a diver and even has his own diving equipment rental place, where Sarah, who has not communicated with Jackson for a long time, is somewhat worried if she has to greet after a long time not meeting. That night, when Pascal held a drinking event on the beach, Sarah dared to greet Jackson, who had not met or contacted for a year. From there, it is certain that the connection between the two will be reconnected, and they both go to a quiet place, Jackson's place, and immediately pour out the liquid that has been clotting for a year. The next morning, Sarah, who just woke up from her sleep, immediately left without saying goodbye for the second time, where Pascal contacted Sarah saying that she would leave first to the island where she was getting married. So it was suggested to just follow along with Freddie, who is a pilot and owner of the plane rental on the island. Arriving at Freddie's place, Sarah brings a crate of liquor she bought yesterday, where Freddie appears to be in poor health, but claims to have drunk rum and ginger to reduce his cough symptoms. Unexpectedly, Jackson also joined in this plane, causing a bit of awkward moment for Sarah, who left without saying goodbye this morning. It is known that Sarah had tried to fly a plane once before, so Freddie asked her to sit in the co-pilot seat and steer with him. Jackson himself is seen busy placing oxygen cylinders in the back. When Freddie suddenly coughs and has a heart attack, and suddenly the plane loses control. Jackson tries to check Freddie's condition and confirm it, and it turns out Freddie has died from a heart attack. So, like it or not, they both have to fly this plane relying on Sarah's actually ordinary experience. They try to contact someone via radio, but due to the collision of the oxygen cylinder earlier, all support systems such as autopilot, GPS, and radio are completely dead, leaving the two of them lost in this vast expanse of sea. While looking for a solution, suddenly a voice from someone on the radio responds to their call for help, where the person instructs both of them to fly west, because that is the fastest way to get to land. But there is one big problem to face, namely the storm that is right in front of them, where the person on the radio instructs Sarah and Jackson to penetrate the storm, because that is the only way to get to land quickly. The situation is really tense when these two inexperienced people have to go through a storm cloud accompanied by lightning everywhere. But with the spirit of wanting to quickly get to land, finally Sarah managed to bring this plane up to a higher place without having to go through the storm. But due to Sarah experiencing a blackout for a few seconds, it makes the plane dive and has to go back into the storm.
Come in! Mayday! Mayday!
And because the compass is damaged, Jackson tries to make an impromptu compass so that the plane does not deviate from the predetermined direction. Both of them manage to get out of the storm. However, a new problem arises. The fuel shows only 5 left, whereas before entering the storm, there was still 35 left, enough for them to fly west and find land. Sarah, who likes to play Plant Simulator, managed to find a button to move the fuel to the reserve tank. But a problem arises when the needle drops unreasonably, a sign that there is a leakage problem. For their lives, Jackson takes the initiative to fix the leak, which only with a rope and a roll of tape. Jackson exits the plane and crawls beside the plane to patch the leak.
Come on, Jackson, you can do it!
After successfully patching the leak, Jackson now has to struggle with one hand to survive. Sarah tries to find a way to keep the steering stable and immediately helps Jackson to get back into the plane. After the tension has passed, now Jackson has to feel an extraordinary pain in his left hand, which was severely injured due to the recent incident. So Sarah immediately opened a bottle of Camar to neutralize Jackson's wound. With the fact that the fuel will still not be enough for them to reach the mainland, Jackson tells Sarah to throw all the items in the plane, hoping to lighten the load and make the plane reach the destination. When Sarah does it, she doesn't realize if there is a water ship that happens to be sailing right below them. Feeling still not light, Jackson asks Sarah to throw Freddie's body down, which that was a calculation for Sarah, who thought, should I throw my friend's body into the sea? But because this is a matter of the lives of those who are still alive, Sarah has no choice but to do it. After there is nothing left in the plane, Sarah turns to a crate of her alcohol and just thought that alcohol contains ethanol compounds, which are airplane fuel. Although the content is only a few percent, maybe it will be enough to keep this plane flying stably. With Jackson's injured hand condition, Sarah has to refill the fuel, which is precisely on the left wing. So Sarah has to really strengthen her mentality to be able to crawl slowly to save both their lives. With Jackson's help, who gave his bottle through the window, Sarah poured the alcohol into the fuel-filling hole. This was actually quite complicated, considering Sarah had to struggle against the strong wind that hit her own body. After Sarah managed to get back inside, unexpectedly, this alcohol plan succeeded in adding airplane fuel, where Jackson said if earlier he had seen a small island passed by, with only a little fuel left, it might be better if they turned direction and landed on the small island, rather than continuing to head west and hoping for land that never appeared. A few minutes passed, the fuel finally ran out, and the propeller instantly stopped, but the plane remained stable. In those desperate moments, Sarah apologized for her attitude of always leaving without saying goodbye. When the dramatic moments felt increasingly thick, the island in question finally appeared, accompanied by a grinning smile from both of their faces. For the umpteenth time, a problem arose when Sarah was unable to land the plane in the water, which indeed, this type of plane could not land in water. But with the power of nature, Sarah tried to land her plane right on the island. And Sarah managed to regain consciousness first with Jackson, who was still unconscious. She, who had run out of breath, then surfaced to take a breath, then went back into the water to save Jackson. If you look closely, this small island looks more like a coral reef with white sand on top of it. When they woke up, the high tide made this island sink. In a few more minutes, there will be no more place for them to survive in this vast ocean. Relying only on Jackson's small float, the two of them floated in the open sea without any chance of being saved. In those second desperate moments, a ship appeared that we had seen earlier, which turned out to be aware of the emergency situation that Jackson and Sarah were facing. Who knows what happened next, but it's clear that both of them were late for Pascal's wedding. So Sarah and Jackson chose to go home and continue their relationship. The film ends. Overall, this film provides enough tension for those of you who like survival-themed films. Especially the new theme presented is quite fresh. The main point is about a couple who become impromptu pilots. There are many messages that we can take from this film. Like the figure of Sarah and Jackson, who, even though they continue to face problems, they are still optimistic to survive. As long as you are still breathing, as long as there is a chance to fix life, never give up. The obstacle in front gives two choices, only two choices, namely to keep fighting or to give up to lose. There is always hope for those who often pray. There is always a way for those who often try. Remember, the body may be tired, but the heart must not give up.